Elias Marek sat in the captain's chair of the HSS Resolute, but his mind was far from the cold steel walls of the bridge. He was thinking about her, Aveline, his closest friend since childhood. She had left Earth 6 years ago, moving to the outer colonies to join a science expedition. They had promised to keep in touch, but as the months turned into years, messages grew fewer. Now, the silence between them felt like an empty corridor stretching forever. He had never told her how much she meant to him, how her laugh could break through his worst days, how he sometimes replayed old recordings of their conversations just to hear her voice. And now, here he was, caught in a trap in the middle of space. The Resolute had jumped into the Kevron system for a diplomatic mission, but instead of allies, an alien armada awaited them. Hundreds of warships hung in the darkness like predators in the deep. The alien coalition had made it clear humanity had been growing too strong, too fast. This was a warning: surrender or be destroyed. Every comm channel was alive with alien voices. Some taunted, some ordered him to stand down. All were certain of his defeat. Elias's crew watched him carefully. He knew what they saw: a captain who seemed far away, staring at the holographic display with unfocused eyes. What they didn't know was that he wasn't afraid of the Armada. He was afraid of the silence, because the truth was, he had come to Kivara hoping Aveline would be here. The science expedition she had joined had been assigned to this system 2 years ago. He thought maybe, just maybe, he'd get to see her again. But the orbital stations were locked down. The aliens wouldn't let anyone through. It hurt more than he wanted to admit. The alien admiral's voice cut through the static. Human vessel Resolute, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be unfortunate. Billions across the galaxy were watching the broadcast. Alien worlds tuned in like it was some grand spectacle. They wanted to see the humans kneel. Elias didn't move. He looked at the alien ships closing in, and then at the crew who trusted him with their lives. For a long moment, he felt the same helpless distance that he felt with Aveline, surrounded by noise, but no real connection. And then, something inside him shifted. He thought about what humanity had been through: wars, disasters, losses. He thought about how humans, no matter how far apart, always found ways to reach each other. Letters sent across oceans, radios calling through storms. Now, light years between friends. If humans could bridge those distances, maybe they could bridge this one too. He stood up, his voice steady. Open a channel to all frequencies. Let everyone hear this. The communications officer hesitated. Sir, that means the entire galaxy. That's the point, Elias said. When the channel opened, he spoke, not just to the alien fleet, but to anyone watching. And somewhere out there, maybe, to Aveline. This ship is far from home, but we are not lost. You think surrounding us will make us afraid. You think cutting us off will make us weak. But you don't understand humans. We find each other in the dark. We hold on when others let go. We cross the void because there's always someone worth reaching. He didn't mention her name, but he hoped she would know. The alien admiral laughed, dismissing it as bravado. But the crew felt something stir, a reminder of why they served. Captain, the weapons officer whispered. Orders? Hold fire, Elias said. His plan was risky, almost foolish, but sometimes the most human thing you could do was defy the script everyone expected you to follow. He ordered the Resolute to power down, letting the alien fleet believe they were giving up. But in the dark belly of the ship, the engineers rerouted power into the experimental main cannon, a weapon the galaxy had never seen in action. As minutes passed, alien ships moved closer, weapons armed. Billions watched, certain the human ship would be destroyed in a flash of light. Elias kept his eyes forward. In his mind, he imagined Aveline watching somewhere, telling him, "Don't let them decide your story." The countdown reached 0. "Now," he said. The Resolute roared to life. A single blinding beam erupted from its hull, slicing the nearest alien battleship in half without a sound. The rest of the fleet scrambled in chaos. The humans moved with impossible precision, striking without waste, turning the trap into a battlefield. Gasps and shouts echoed across the galaxy's networks. No one had thought it possible. When the battle was over, the Resolute stood alone, the alien armada scattered and broken. Elias reopened the channel. "We don't want war. But if you try to cage us, you'll see what happens when humans fight for the ones they care about. No distance is too far. No wall is too high." He cut the feed. The bridge was silent for a moment, not from fear, but from awe. Later, in the quiet of his quarters, Elias finally sent a personal message to Aveline. Simple words, but ones that carried the weight of everything he'd been holding back. "I don't know if you saw what happened today, but I thought of you the whole time. I hope we can talk soon. No matter the distance, I'll find my way back." And somewhere across the stars, he hoped she'd see it and know that even when an alien armada surrounded the human ship, the galaxy had witnessed something unthinkable, not just a victory, but the human will to reach out, no matter how far. The HSS Resolute drifted in the quiet cavern orbit, its hull marked by fresh scars. Alien debris floated in the darkness, glowing faintly from the last exchange of fire. The crew moved about with quiet pride, repairing systems and restoring full power. The galaxy was still buzzing over what they'd done. Every news channel, human and alien alike, replayed the moment when the Resolute destroyed the alien battleship in a single strike. Admirals called it unthinkable. Politicians called it dangerous. But the people, especially humans, called it hope. Elias should have felt triumphant. Instead, he found himself staring at his private terminal, the unsent. Message to Aveline still glowing on the screen. He had recorded it right after the battle, telling her how he had thought of her, how he wanted to hear her voice again. But his finger hovered over the send button and didn't move. What if she didn't remember him the same way? What if she had moved on? What if the message never even reached her, trapped behind alien-controlled relays? The galaxy could watch him face down an armada without fear. But sending one small message felt harder than any battle. "Captain?" It was Lieutenant Wren, his communications officer. She stood at the doorway, holding a datapad. "We're getting a strange signal, not from the alien coalition. From the cavern research station." Elias's heart skipped. The research station. That's where Aveline's expedition had been assigned. "Put it through," he said. The screen flickered, not to an image, but to an audio-only feed. The voice was distorted, as if fighting through interference. "To any human ship, this is Station Kevara 1. We've been ordered to cut all contact with Earth. But we heard what you did. You fought them. You didn't back down. Some of us were proud of you." Elias leaned forward. "Identify yourself," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. The voice hesitated. "Then, it's me, Aveline." His chest tightened. It was her. After all these years, it was really her. "Aveline, where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm on the station," she said, her voice rushing as if she feared the line would drop at any second. "They locked down the colony. We can't leave. And they're watching us, every message, every movement." Elias swallowed hard. "I came here hoping to see you." A pause. Then a faint laugh. "Still stubborn, huh? I guess you haven't changed." He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sound of her voice wash over him. But it wasn't enough. He wanted to see her, to close the distance that had stretched between them for years. "Listen," she said, "they'll cut this signal soon. But I saw the broadcast of your fight. The way you spoke before the battle. Elias, people on this station heard it too. It's giving them hope. They think maybe humans don't have to bow to anyone." The cum feed crackled. He could hear other voices in the background. Alien officers shouting, a warning siren. "Blaring? Aveline?" he said quickly. "Hold on. I'll find a way to reach you." "No," she said firmly. "If you try to come here now, they'll destroy your ship. You've already done enough to make them fear you. Just stay alive. Please." The line cut to static. Elias sat in silence, staring at the dark screen. He felt that same ache in his chest, the same one he had felt all these years. She was close enough for her voice to reach him, but still impossibly far away. That night, while the crew rested, Elias stood alone in the observation deck. The Keverin station was a faint silver speck in the distance, turning slowly against. The stars. Lieutenant Wren joined him quietly. "You're thinking about her," she said. Elias didn't deny it. "I've faced warships, Wren. I've faced battles I shouldn't have survived. But this? Not knowing if I'll ever see her again. It's worse." Wren was silent for a moment. Then she said, "You know what makes humans different? We fight for people we haven't seen in years. We carry their voices in our heads, and we don't stop until we reach them." Elias looked at her, surprised. She smiled faintly. "Sir, you gave a speech that inspired billions. Maybe it's time to give one more, not to the galaxy, but to her." The next day, Elias ordered a galaxy-wide broadcast. This time, it wasn't about threats or warnings. It was about connection. The message was simple. To anyone listening, human, alien, friend, or stranger, distance does not end what matters. The HSS Resolute moved slowly through the Black Sea of space. Every system was working, but Captain Elias Marek's thoughts were far from the ship's controls. It had been 3 days since he had heard Aveline's voice. 3 days since she had called him from the lockdown Keverin station, her words cut short by alien security. Every hour that passed felt like sand slipping away through his hands. He wanted to send her another message, but the alien coalition had tightened the comm channels. Now any direct signal to the station was blocked. He didn't even know if she had heard his last broadcast, the one meant for her. The crew could tell their captain was distracted. He still gave orders, still oversaw repairs, but there was a weight in his voice. Even the youngest ensigns could sense it. This battle was not just about survival anymore. It was personal. Elias stood in his quarters late one night, staring at the holographic map of the Keverin system. The research station where Aveline was trapped floated inside a tight web of alien warships. Patrol routes were designed, so no ship could approach without being detected. It was an unbreakable net. At least, that's what the aliens thought. Lieutenant Wren entered quietly, carrying a small datapad. "Sir, you asked me to look for gaps in their security." Elias turned. "And?" She placed the datapad on the table. "There's one possibility. Their long-range scanners sweep every angle, except here." She pointed to a spot on the map, a narrow gap between 2 patrol arcs. "It's small. Less than 4 minutes where they wouldn't see us." "It's enough," Elias said. Without hesitation, Wren looked at him carefully. "Sir, this would mean taking the Resolute into enemy territory without backup. Command would never approve." "I'm not asking command," Elias said. "I'm telling you, we're going in." The next morning, Elias called a meeting with his senior officers. The air in the room felt tense. Everyone knew this wasn't going to be a standard patrol or supply run. "I'm going to be honest," Elias began. "This mission is personal. There's someone on that station I need to reach. But it's not just about one person. It's about what it means to be human. He looked around the room, making eye contact with each of them. We don't leave people behind. We don't let them fade into silence. I've seen humanity cross impossible distances to bring someone home, and I won't stop now. If we can pull this off, we'll remind the galaxy why humans can't be caged. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the chief engineer grinned. Captain, if you're going to do something reckless, at least let us make it spectacular. The crew's agreement was quiet but solid. They were with him. For 2 days, the Resolute prepared in secret. Shields were tuned to mask their energy signature. Navigation was recalculated to thread through the narrow scanner gap. Weapons were loaded, but Elias hoped they wouldn't need to fire them. Still, in the back of his mind, he knew the truth. If the aliens caught them, there would be no mercy. On the night before the mission, Elias sat alone in the observation deck. The stars shone like cold, distant lights. He imagined Aveline looking at the same sky from the station. He remembered the last day they'd seen each other on Earth. She had been standing on the boarding ramp of a colony transport, her hair whipping in the wind. She had smiled, but there was a sadness in her eyes. Don't vanish on me, she had said. I won't. He had promised Dot, and now, all these years later, he refused to break that promise. The mission began in the quiet hours before dawn ship time. The Resolute slipped through the black, engines barely whispering. The alien patrols moved in their predictable arcs, unaware that a human warship was threading the needle between their sensors. 3 minutes. That was all they had. Approaching the station, Wren whispered Dot through the viewport. Elias could see the Keverin station at last, a silver wheel turning slowly against the stars. Lights glowed faintly along its rim. Somewhere inside, Aveline was waiting. Opening secure channel, Wren said. We'll be visible in 60 seconds. Elias leaned close to the comm mic. His voice was low, but steady. Aveline, it's Elias. I'm outside the station. I don't have long. I just needed you to know. You were never forgotten. Not for a single day. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but static. Then her voice broke through, breathless and soft. I knew you'd come. A warning alarm blared on the Resolute. The alien patrols had noticed. Energy signatures spiked as enemy ships began moving in. We're out of time, Captain. Wren called. Elias's hands tightened on the console. Lock inner coordinates. Transmit an encrypted return path to her quarters. She know what to do when the time comes. The Resolute turned sharply, engines roaring to full power. Alien ships closed in from all sides, but the crew moved. With perfect precision. A burst of countermeasures lit the darkness, blinding enemy scanners just long enough for them to escape through the same narrow gap they had entered. Hours later, safe in deep space, Elias replayed the recording of her voice. I knew you'd come, Dotted. Wasn't a rescue yet. She was still there, still surrounded. But now she knew he was near. And sometimes, knowing you're not forgotten is the first step to freedom. The galaxy might have seen humans as reckless, stubborn, or too bold for their own good. But Elias knew the truth. It was that same stubbornness, that refusal to let go of someone far away, that made humanity dangerous to those who tried to keep them apart. And one day soon, he promised himself, the galaxy would see the unthinkable again, when a human ship returned to bring someone home. Asterisk, the HSS Resolute was hidden deep in an asteroid field. The rocks drifted slowly around the ship, blocking most long-range scanners. It wasn't a perfect hiding spot, but it gave them time to plan Dot. It had been 5 days since Elias had spoken to Aveline through the brief. Stolen connection at the Keverin station. He played her words in his head every night. I knew you'd come. That sentence gave him strength, but it also made the silence that followed even harder to bear. The alien coalition had tightened its grip on the station. No more signals escaped. No messages could get through. Every time Elias looked at the star chart, the station felt like a star locked behind a wall. She was there, so close, and yet unreachable. Lieutenant Wren entered the briefing room with a serious look. "Captain, we've been watching the station's security patterns. There's a window coming up tomorrow. It won't last long, but it's our best chance to act." Elias leaned forward. "Act how?" Wren pulled up a holomap. "Their supply convoys arrive once every 2 weeks. They have to open the station's outer shields to let them in. If we move during that moment, we could slip a small team inside before the shields close again." Elias nodded slowly. It was dangerous. The Resolute couldn't get close without being seen, but a stealth shuttle might. That night, Elias stood alone in the observation deck, watching the faint glimmer of the cavern station on the horizon. He thought about all the things he'd never told Eveline, about how she had been the one to encourage him to join the fleet, about how her letters during training had kept him from giving up, about how he'd kept every single one. He wondered if she still thought about him at all. Then he shook his head. No, this wasn't the time for doubt. Humans didn't give up on the people they cared about, not when there was still a way forward. The next day, the plan began. The Resolute drifted behind the asteroid belt, its engines low. The stealth shuttle Sparrow waited in the hangar, loaded with supplies, gear, and a 3-person team. Elias, Wren, and Chief Engineer Darius Wren strapped in and looked at Elias. "You know once we're in, we can't take the Resolute's guns with us." Elias gave a small smile. "We won't need them. We're not here to start a war. We're here to get someone back." The Sparrow launched silently, slipping into the darkness. The alien fleet around the station was busy escorting the incoming supply convoy. For a few precious minutes, their attention was elsewhere. "Approaching entry point," Darius whispered. Massive silver curve of the cavern station filled the viewport. Its outer shields shimmered like a heat haze, then flickered as the supply ships passed through. Elias said. The Sparrow shot forward, darting between 2 cargo haulers, and into the open shield gap. The moment they cleared it, the shield shimmered back to full power. They were inside. The interior docking bay was enormous, lit with pale blue lights. Alien crews moved crates and machinery. None of them noticed the small human shuttle landing. Quietly in the far corner, Elias, Wren, and Darius slipped out, their boots silent against the metal floor. Each wore a compact breathing mask and a translator earpiece. "Keep comms low," Elias said. "Our goal is Section D, Lab Wing 4, and that's where she be." They moved through the station's corridors, staying to the shadows. Elias's heart pounded with every turn. Finally, they reached the lab wing. Through the glass wall, Elias saw her, Aveline, sitting at a console, focused on her work. Her hair was tied back, but a few strands had fallen loose around her face. A moment Elias just watched. He wanted to run in, to tell her everything he'd been holding back, but he forced himself to stay calm. Wren gave a small nod. "Go." Elias stepped into the room. She looked up, startled. For a second she didn't move. Then her eyes widened. "Elias?" She whispered. He smiled. "Told you I'd find a way." She stood, almost knocking over her chair. "How? You can't be here. If they catch you?" "They won't," he said firmly. "We have a way out. But we have to move now. Before she could answer, an alarm blared. Wren's voice came through the comm. The HSS Resolute cruised through deep space, far from the cavern system. The crew moved quietly, aware that the alien coalition would be searching for them. In the captain's quarters, Elias Marek sat across from Aveline. It was the first time. They had been alone since the rescue. The last time they'd seen each other in person had been years ago, on Earth. Back then, words had come easily. Now they sat in silence. She looked different, older, sharper, carrying the weight of years spent under alien authority. And Elias? He was a warship captain now, not the young cadet who'd waved goodbye. On the colony docks, the distance between them wasn't measured in light years anymore. It was something else, a quiet, invisible gap. You shouldn't have done it, Aveline said finally, her voice calm but firm. Done what? Elias asked. Risked your ship. Your crew. Everything just for me. She looked down at her hands. I'm not worth that. Elias leaned forward. You are. You always have been. She met his eyes for the first time. Why? He could have told her about the years of silence, the nights he'd replayed her old messages, the way her voice in the station's transmission had lit something inside him. But instead, he said simply, because that's what humans do. We cross the distance. We don't leave people behind. Before she could respond, the ship's cum buzzed. Captain, Wren's voice came through. We've got company. 3 alien interceptors, closing fast. Elias stood. Bridge, now. On the main display, the interceptors appeared as bright red markers, moving in formation. They were faster and lighter than the Resolute. If they caught up, they could cripple the ship before help arrived. They're broadcasting a demand, Wren said. They want us to surrender the woman we stole. From cavern custody, Elias's jaw tightened. Not happening. The Resolute shifted course, weaving between asteroid fragments and small moons. The interceptors followed, firing warning shots. The crew worked in perfect coordination, every movement calculated, every turn precise. Aveline stood quietly, near the back of the bridge, watching. She had never seen a human ship fight before. She had heard the rumors that humans were reckless, unpredictable, but what she saw now wasn't chaos. It was something else entirely. The Resolute moved, like it was alive. Every turn, every countermove felt deliberate, as if the crew could predict exactly what the enemy would do next. Bring the dorsal cannons online, Elias ordered. Aim for their engines, not their hulls. The cannons roared, and one interceptor spun out, engines dead. The others tried to circle around, but the Resolute twisted between them, slipping through gaps too narrow for a ship. Its size, it was like watching a dance. Steel and fire moving together in perfect rhythm. After 10 minutes of intense maneuvering, the last interceptor broke off and fled. The crew let out a collective breath. Elias didn't smile. Plot a new course. We can't stay in one place for long. Later, in the quiet of the observation deck, Aveline joined him. The stars drifted past the glass. You could have destroyed them, she said. I could have, Elias agreed. But they were only following orders. We send a message when we let them live, that humans fight for what matters, but we don't waste life if we can help it. She studied him for a long moment. You've changed. So have you? He said softly. They stood in silence for a while. Finally, she said, You know, when I left Earth, I thought distance would fade what I felt. But it didn't. I just didn't know how to reach back. Elias turned to her. Then let's close the distance now. It wasn't an instant fix. The years apart didn't vanish in one conversation. But something shifted. The first bridge laid between 2 far-off shores. On the bridge, Wren quietly sent out a coded transmission to friendly human ships. It carried a single sentence. The captain has found who he was looking for. Now we fight. To keep her safe in the dark of space, the galaxy's war was still moving forward. But for Elias, this was more than survival. Now was proof that humans could cross any gap, even the one between two people who thought they had lost each other forever. And somewhere, the alien coalition would be watching the footage of the Resolute's escape, wondering how one human ship could outfly and outthink an entire squadron. They'd try to explain it with tactics, with ship design, with speed, but the real reason was something no scanner could detect. Humans fight hardest when they're fighting for someone. Asterisk, the Resolute was deep in unmarked space now, its engines running quiet. Elias had ordered the crew to avoid major lanes. The alien coalition would still be searching for them. Aveline sat in the mess hall alone, her untouched food in front of her. She stared at the table but saw nothing, only flashes of the past. Years on the Keverin station had taught her how to survive, but not how to be close to someone again. And now Elias was here, just a few rooms away, yet she felt the same hollow space inside. Elias entered quietly and sat opposite her. "You're not eating," he said. "Not hungry," she replied. He didn't press her. "We'll be passing through the outer drift soon. Safer there." She nodded, but kept her eyes on the table. The words she wanted to say, "I missed you," stayed trapped in her throat. Later that night, the ship picked up a faint signal. Wren brought it to the captain. Immediately, "It's addressed to Aveline," Wren said. "Encrypted in Keverin code." Elias frowned. "Play it." The voice that came through was smooth, controlled, and unmistakably alien. "Aveline, you are in grave danger. The humans will use you for their war. Return to us, and you will be safe. This is your only chance." Aveline stood behind them, pale. "That's Commander Varric," she said softly. "You know him?" Elias asked. "He was in charge of the station. He wasn't cruel, but he was firm. He kept things orderly. And he always told me humans were dangerous." Elias's jaw tightened. "They're trying to pull you back." The message repeated. This time, Aveline listened to the pauses, the way the words were spaced. Keverin officers always hid meaning in rhythm. This one said more than the surface message. "They know where we are," she whispered. Elias immediately ordered evasive maneuvers. The Resolute turned sharply, engines flaring. Crew scrambled to battle stations. Within minutes, 3 large blips appeared on the radar. Keverin warcruisers. "They're faster," Wren said. "We can't outrun them in open space." Elias made a quick decision. "Then we don't run. We disappear." He led the Resolute into a dense debris field left over from an ancient planetary collision. Massive rock shards drifted slowly, blocking sensors. The Keverin ships entered the field after them, but the humans used their smaller size to slip through tight spaces. Elias ordered all lights dimmed, all systems at minimum power. The crew moved silently, knowing one wrong move would give away their position. Aveline stood by Elias's chair, watching his hands move across the controls. "You've done this before," she said quietly. He allowed himself a small smile. "Hiding? Yeah. We learned a long time ago that sometimes the best fight is the one the enemy doesn't even know they lost." Hours passed in tense silence. The Keverin ships eventually turned away, assuming they had lost the trail. When the Resolute finally powered up again, the crew let out long-held breaths. Later, Aveline found Elias alone on the observation deck. "You didn't have to save me." "Again," she said. "I'll keep doing it as many times as it takes," he replied. She hesitated, then said, "On the station, I thought about writing to you. Every time I started, I stopped. I told myself too much time had passed, that we wouldn't know each other anymore." Elias didn't look away from the stars. "Maybe we don't know each other the same way, but we can learn again." She finally smiled, small, uncertain, but real. "You really believe humans can always close the distance?" He met her eyes. "I don't just believe it. I've seen it, and I'll prove it to you as many times as I have to." In the War Council chambers. Far away, Cavern leaders watched the latest encounter. One of them leaned forward. How does one human ship escape a full squadron twice? The answer came from an older officer. Because humans fight for people, not orders. That makes them unpredictable. The council did not understand that this was exactly why they would never be able to break that connection. Aveline didn't. Say I missed you that night either. But for the first time in years, she felt like she could someday dot, and that was enough for